shadow book already?
Good job. So this would be Friday, December 2nd. Let's see, once again, the information up there, although my screen went all funky. Go back. Early book report due in a week from today. Mid-test corrections are available. You can do those if you are wanting to. The quiz on Monday goes up to page 89, so we had to move things around, so you're going to do it a bit on your own there. Tie game was Penguins, and then we got into the Shadowing Club stuff. Same thing there to help you with the whole part. Who are the two people that go and talk in the treehouse? And who becomes captain for the track team?
Austin.
And then he comes up with a new nickname for Jared.
Gopher.
And then we had just gotten to the part where what's her name was going to be Annie. We were afraid that she was going to be Annie. Page 44, we're down where it says, "No, I'm serious," about halfway down. No, I'm serious. We could have a club just for fun. Something that only we could have. And none of the unbeatable kids can be in it. Like a second best club. That's a stupid idea. No, it's not. We could all go and do things and have fun and really make the unbeatable kids jealous that we thought of it before they did. We'll be one up on them for a change. Yeah. Who's going to be in this club? I don't know. We'd have to think about it for a while and come up with some names. I'll bet there are lots of kids who want to be in it. My brother, for instance. Nobody else will want to do it. They'll laugh at us. But if they don't, Jared, we could be starting something big. A secret club that will go on for years after we've gone on to high school. I thought about this. Cheryl always had a way of convincing me of things. But this time, she wasn't the one who convinced me. It was someone else. "Hey, Jared," someone called. It was that familiar voice. A voice I didn't want to hear. I could almost see those arrow pins and that red hair and those long, bony arms. "Hey, Jared, you want to race? First race of the season." So this was it. The challenge. Austin was always the one to challenge first. Usually he waited until the second week when he had seen me run and was absolutely sure he'd be able to beat me. This time, he asked on the second day. And there were too many kids around for me to turn down the challenge. "Don't you think it'd be better if we waited until the field was clear?" "Isn't this clear enough?" I turned around. Sure enough, the field was clear enough to race. Austin had come over with about 10 kids, and more kids were joining us because everyone knew what he was up to, and everyone knew about our rivalry. "Maybe we should wait till your legs grow some more." Everyone laughed. I laughed too. I mean, better to be laughed with than laughed at, right? Inside, I wasn't laughing though. "Fine then, right now." Austin smiled, that crocodile smile. "Hey, Greg, go out about 60 yards and judge us." Greg Miller, one of the new 7th graders on the team, obeyed as if he'd been given an order from God. So this is where it begins, I thought. This year's competition, this year's war. I felt strong. I felt ready to run. I felt like I always felt when I raced with Austin, that maybe this time I would beat him. We got down into starting position, and then Austin got up. "Wait," he said, took off his precious shoes and then his socks. He was going to run barefoot. "Okay." He got back down. "You ready to lose?" I didn't answer. Martin Bricker got ready to start us as more and more kids turned to watch. Even teachers were watching. So this is where it begins. "On your mark. Get set. Go!" I took off like a bullet, cutting through the wind and pounding the grass with every last bit of my strength. I didn't turn to look, but I could see in the corner of my eye that we were neck and neck. 10 yards were gone. I looked toward Greg down the field and concentrated on turning everything I had into power. "This is for every time you beat me in races as a kid." I pushed harder. "And this is when you came back to do it again last year." I pushed harder. "And this is for how you made me feel this morning." I pushed harder. We were still neck and neck. 30 yards were gone. 30 to go. The cheers faded away behind us. "This is for challenging me in front of the whole school. And this is for everything you'll ever try to do for me for the rest of our lives. And this is for those stupid running shoes you wear." 40 yards gone. I was ahead of him by a foot. I was beating him. I pushed harder. 15 yards to go. Only 15 to go. And then, like he'd been holding it all back, he flew out in front of me. He didn't inch out. He flew out, like I was standing still. He moved like a machine and fast forward, a ship blasting into hyperspace. He was a foot in front of me, 2 feet, 3 feet. He turned to look at me and smiled that awful smile of his. I lunged. I dove forward in a wild attempt to reach the finish line before he did, but he was there before I hit the ground. I was moving so fast that I skidded along the grass, skinning my elbows and ruining my pants. The agony of defeat. I felt like that skier who wipes out on the ski jump every Sunday on Wide World of Sports. The agony of defeat. Skinned elbows, ruined pants, and a laughing, lost in space. By now, kids were crowding around Austin. Wow! Did you see Austin take off? Wow, he really beat him bad. Wow, Austin's so fast. Wow this and wow that. Austin was loving every last bit of it. They crowded around him and left me there on the ground to examine my elbows. You shouldn't race Austin, kid, says a 7th grader. Austin beats everybody. Austin looked down at me. He was barely winded. You're in pretty good. For a gopher, he said, and everyone laughed. Gopher, 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 gopher. Austin raised his hands to conduct them, and they all chanted in unison, Gopher, gopher, gopher. I could have killed him. I could have ripped him limb from limb. But then I thought about Tyson McGaw. No, I wasn't Tyson. I was civilized, and I wasn't going to attack Austin. Instead, I stood up, brushed myself off, and waited till the gopher chanting stopped. Then I looked Austin straight in the face and put out my hand. Nice race, Austin. I shook his hand. Let me tell you, it took all my strength to do it, too. Yeah, he said. See you around, gopher. I turned and left while everyone crowded around Austin. My elbows had just begun hurting. Cheryl was there waiting for me. And that's one thing about her. She was always there, and she never laughed at me either. Are you okay? She asked. I looked back toward Austin, then turned to Cheryl and asked, So, what are we going to call our club? Chapter, The Charter at Stonehenge. There's 2 places I normally stop. One is there, and then one's also a little bit further on. We can try pushing on to the further one. It gives us a few more pages, like another 10, 11 pages in. We'll go for that then. If not, those of you who are doing the home version, then you can just start reading here on your own, or wherever we get a chance to get to. The Charter at Stonehenge. Oh, if you guys don't know what Stonehenge is, because they're going to talk about it coming up, do you guys know what country Stonehenge is in? It is. England, good job. And they don't really know what it was, but it's all those little stones that are up and look like that. And so
that was brave.
They're going to, it wasn't brave, which is not in England. But it's, the place they're going to go to is this old building that's sort of fallen down, and when it fell down, it just left up the stone sides of it, so they end up calling this place Stonehenge. So that's what they're referring to. Yes?
Is that place in the movie Hop? Is that the place
Yeah.
in Brave? Or in the Disney movie
Brave.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knew what used to be there, but whatever it had been, only the old stone foundation remained in a clearing in the woods. The stones were worn and covered with moss. Inside the rectangular stone foundation was a pit about 6 feet deep and 20 feet across, filled with bushes and trees. It could have been there for 100 years. Nobody knew. Cheryl, Randall, and I had found it years ago, exploring as kids, but it seemed too eerie to play in, so we left it alone, filing it away in our heads for future reference. The old foundation sat there in the thick woods between Cheryl's house and the ocean, waiting. I'd always thought of the foundation as waiting for someone to use it again, I guess, or maybe just waiting to disappear into the earth, like the building that once stood above it had. It was waiting, all right. And on the second Friday of 9th grade, I had this certain exciting feeling that it was waiting for us. As Cheryl and I stood on the outer edge of the deep stone foundation looking into the pit, Cheryl said, "This is great. I couldn't think of a better place to have our meetings." I walked around the edge until I came to a place where the foundation had given way and the earth sloped down into the pit. I climbed down into the center and Cheryl followed. It looks like it could almost be magical. Maybe it's haunted or something? I mean, don't go and make it all spooky. But it was spooky already. Spooky in a fun sort of way. Like the mummy cases in a museum or a ghost town, there was a feeling to the place that made anything we could possibly do there seem very, very important. It would give our club meetings a hint of mystery. What time is it? 4:15? They'll be here in 15 minutes. As I looked around, I began to see things you couldn't see from up on the ledge. There were old green Coke bottles and aluminum cans with the old-fashioned pull-off tabs that they stopped making years ago. There were designs on the cans I didn't even recognize. For all I knew, they could have been here since the building came down. All around us were little bits of the past that no one had touched for years and years. It was magical. Like the Stonehenge place in England. Mysterious rocks with a hidden history. Let's call this place Stonehenge, I said to Cheryl. That's great. I like that. She climbed back up to the edge and sat on a moss-covered cinder block at the lip of the pit, the edge of Stonehenge. I feel like a witch. You look like one, I said. She stepped right into that one. Oh, shut up. You know what I mean. It's like we could conjure up ghosts here. What time is it? 4:20? At first, I felt funny talking to kids about this club. I was afraid they'd laugh in my face, but no one did. Picking out the kids for the club became like a game. Cheryl and I would keep our eyes open, watching for kids in our exact situation. Kids who were second best, who were miserable about it and had to live under the shadow of some nasty, unbeatable person who rubbed their noses in it every day. We ruled out some kids right away. Others took longer, but finally we came up with a list of 5 kids who'd be perfect. We didn't want a big group. 7, including us, was just fine. One by one, either Cheryl or I spoke to them when no one else was around. And you know what? Every single one of them wanted to be in the club, the Shadow Club, as Cheryl and I named it. So we called the first meeting, then marked the trees so that everyone could find our secret meeting place in the woods. At any second, they would converge on the old foundation, and the Shadow Club would be born. What time is it? Cheryl looked at me with those give-me-a-break sort of eyes and said, "Stop being ridiculous." So I didn't ask anymore. I climbed back down into Stonehenge and started up the campfire. The sun was near the horizon, and shadows were getting long and dark, gesundheit, when everyone finally arrived. By now, the little campfire I had started in the center of the big square foundation pit was burning strong. It wasn't dark out, and it wasn't cold, and we didn't have marshmallows to roast, so the campfire didn't seem to make much sense. But it was there for a very good reason that only Cheryl and I knew. I guess we should start by formally introducing ourselves, I said. And we're going to stop there before we get to formally introduce ourselves. When we come back, I'm going to read for a bit more, except for those of you who are doing the home version. If you're doing the home version, you're out of luck. Now, if you get to start reading on your own, I will let you read my awesome shirt, though. Other than that, quiz on Monday goes up to page 89.